Zines are self-published works and they're created by individuals to share their own thoughts and issues with like-minded people in their communities. Zines emerged around the 1940s out of science fiction clubs that had grown to explore science fiction literature and to share it with their communities. In the 60s and 70s, this starts to embrace underground alternative culture, particularly punk in the 1970s, which is where we start to really see aesthetic of zines come through. In the 80s and 90s, the kind of subject matter that people were broaching in the zines that they made was really widening to anything that people are interested in, from sport to film. And today, you can make a zine about whatever your interests are. Here at the V&A, we have a collection of zines, and I have a box here from the Andy Roberts Memorial Collection, who was a comics artist in the 80s and 90s. So let's take a look. There are lots of different themes that have come up in the zines collection, and one of the biggest ones is feminism. This first one is called Stink Zine, and it's utilising that kind of Roy Lichtenstein comic book style art of a woman crying. Inside, it's very much the traditional aesthetic of a zine, like the cut and paste typography and images from other areas. This page catches my eye as it's making fun of a national newspaper trying to pick out what a grunge look is in the 90s, and so they've appropriated that and making fun of it. Next up we have Witch. This one has a more professional feel to it, so it's got a different paper stock cover, and it's actually more of a comic-based zine than written content. Some really fun reappropriation of images from other sources as well. Just on the back, for instance, there is this illustration of how a husband and wife can read this comic together. Inside, we immediately have this kind of illustration referencing Bewitched, cartoon from the 1960s. The kind of content that you'll be seeing in this magazine is comics addressing the artist's experiences in her career as a comics artist. In the centre here we have this illustration of a handyman, and on the right is a selection of tools that he can use for all the jobs that you can't do as a woman, including sanding and drilling and even a feather duster. And this issue was published in 1997. This one is Proverbial Daisies. It's definitely got a kind of aggressive looking cover here, this illustration. Inside, there's a really nice article, How to Pout with Helen Usher, explaining how you can pout to make yourself more attractive, apparently. So her instructions for pouting are: make sure you have lips, make them moist and attractive by using lip balm on your fingers, pucker up, and then flutter your eyelashes, but not too much, or you'll look like there's a strobe light in every room. This is a zine called This Is, and as you can see, it's part of a series. This one has some beautiful holographic stickers on it featuring desserts, including poached pears. In the first issue that we have here is a really interesting annotated article from an event that was at the National Film Theatre that was about women in punk, and this is their essay that the curators wrote there. And this person has given lots of her own thoughts to what the writers there were saying. So another really prominent theme that appears in zines and in this collection in particular is music. The first zine we have here, it's got that very standard zine aesthetic, photocopied images, reused, and handwritten text. It's called Is That All There Is? A Chocolate Narcotic fanzine. Here they're talking about the 1970s punk scene, but it's 1993 and what music we should be listening to. They mention some bands there, including Bikini Kill, kind of Riot Grrrl movement. And then a page here talking about politics and quite upfront saying queer and proud, which is quite interesting in the early 90s. And then on the back explains that they're also a record label. You can buy what I presume will be some kind of punk single from them. It's a really great example of what you might think is a zine. Then we have this very different kind of example here. So this one's done on desktop publishing. So this is moving into using computers to create your own zines. But of course it's very 90s. So it has a very pixelated render of Spock from Star Trek on it. And the content includes reviews of Ren and Stimpy and an interview with band Pavement. Very excited to open this one and find out more. Inside you can see a more professional layout, but still the content is quite barbarous. They're quite silly and making fun of stuff. Here they're talking about a virtual reality show that was happening in 1994, which is quite surprising to me. We all think of it as being quite a contemporary thing, but this is decades ago. They talk about how they wanted to scam their way in to see this professional show. So quite fun content. And then here we have an interview with Pavement. They're a lo-fi iconic band from the 1990s. And then more reviews of music. And so it just shows that this is one of the areas that people who publish fanzines are really interested in. Pamzine, the ultimate guide to the world of Pam Savage. This seems to be a zine full of interviews with 90s female-fronted riot girl bands. Inside we have interviews with La Tigra, a feminist band from Portland. The book of the month is Miss Piggy's Guide to Life. It says Miss Piggy is on a mission. She wants to share her wisdom, wit and porcine fabulousness with the world. She knows that the road to success is a treacherous one, and that potential starlets need the advice of an important role model. And apparently it's available in all good charity shops now. So this is Plague Your Eyes Linus zine. It's got a kind of transparent cover, so it's like that, and then inside. And Linus was the band of Andy Roberts, whose collection of zines this was. So this was a zine produced by his band. Inside, cut and paste articles and comics based around band life. And on the back with this tracing paper is kind of romance comic, but about how you can learn to love a member of the establishment. Next up we have Vaseline zine number 6. As well as being a music-orientated magazine, this actually has a lot of queer themes in it, exploring the intersection of Britpop, indie in the 90s and queer music as well. And it even includes a flyer for Vaseline Club, the indie alternative club for lesbians and gay men. I'd love to have gone to this. It'd be right up my street. So it turns out that queer themes are actually quite a prominent part of this collection. So just picking up this one here, we've got the Lesbian Gay Community Fan Club Newsletter, number 1 collector's edition. And it's written as a comic. This comic is called Writing a Song with Mona, Rock and Roll Repetition. More comics about the adventures of a gay and lesbian band. Just a note on the back to say that the lesbian and gay community will be playing at Club V at the Garage in Islington also. This is one sheet folded in 4 with a central page 2, so it just shows how easy to make these things are. It's Dusty Springfield on the front, called Pop No Surrender, number 5. Inside, personal stories about gay life, and then more stories and some pin-ups inside. We have the V-Files, which is the queer indie zine for the queer indie scene, and it's a music zine featuring lots of reviews of bands and gigs. On the cover we have an image of Judy Garland, who is of course a queer icon. So some zines don't really fit into categories because it's very much about being able to share your own thoughts and ideas. This one here, called Weave Industry with Truth, I think this is a symbol of the place that the writer visited, called Girvan. This is what she calls a novella zine, and it's a kind of document of an exploration of her visit to Girvan, particularly Isla Craig, and a person from Nova Scotia that she met there too. So it documents the trip through illustrations and photographs, some of the places that they went to, excited about the rock shop. Yeah, it just is about the history and their experiences, and it's a lot of information, but it's very interesting. They even included some rocks from the island. They've sewn them into this casing here as well. And you can also see just here how this particular zine has been tied together with fishing wire rather than stapled or folded. These two are a bit more professional seeming, still very personal, and still using the same typographic designs, cut and paste imagery from other sources as well, and even a section on fanzines themselves as well. And then we have Zoom here, which has used several different colours in the printing process. This would be a bit more pricey. It obviously reflects that kind of slightly more professional outlook. So it's a zine basically about other people's zines being reviewed and how you can get a hold of them as well. Here we have Riot Cat, which is very much a homemade zine, including illustrations and lots of text, a kind of stream of consciousness, you might say. Here's a review of the different types of hat with a star rating based on their appeal to Riot Cat. And on the back is Mystery Fish of the Month. I guess that's a kind of quiz for readers. So the zines that we've seen today are mostly from around the 90s and early 2000s, but there's still a big active community around zine making. And we've been working with Big Family Press in East London and a school in Bow to get the young people at that school to produce their own zines. So here are some of the examples. As you can see, they follow a similar kind of aesthetic, using cutouts of existing media and reappropriating it and combining it with their own drawings. These zines have been produced using a particular process called risograph printing. So you get the same aesthetic of traditional screen printing, but you can very quickly make many different copies and use different layers as well to get different color effects, which we'll see in a minute. But there's some really effective use of neon pink in this particular one. In fact, they just really were interested in talking about the color pink, which I really like. This one really is kind of focused on some of the issues that this young person feels young people face. So for instance, they don't want to get really involved in social media and they're concerned about bullying as well. So they've kind of addressed all of those issues in this zine here. This one has a really good use of the kind of two colour process of the risograph printer. This one's about addressing some of the issues that nature faces. So we have Under the Sea with a dolphin illustration and Over the Trees with this bird here. And this one has a really good use of the dual colour and reuse of existing images. So this person was thinking about the kind of cozy times that they like. This image of the rose particularly shows that really good effect from risograph printing. With the rise of social media, there are lots of other opportunities for us to share our voice. But zines give us something tangible to hold on to. And I think it's really important that we continue to produce them because they cover not just really serious issues, but they can also be fun to look at, fun to read, and fun to make as well.